So, hi everyone. To continue with the discussion that our group had last meeting, which covers the chapter 6, which is Rizal and the propaganda movement. And here I am to share or discuss my assigned topic, which is Rizal, Del Pilar, and Blumentritt. So, to start, Rizal, Del Pilar, and Blumentritt are prominent figures in the Philippine history who played significant role in the fight for the independence of our country and the promotion of Filipino nationalism during the late 19th century. Kaya 'di ba, as we all know that during this time, we are under the Spanish colonialism that had lasted for about 333 years or 3 centuries. So, first, Jose Rizal, he was born into a prosperous Chinese mestizo family from Laguna province in 1861. So meaning, Jose Rizal was not a pure-blooded Filipino but he's a mixture of Chinese from his mother's side, Spanish ancestry, and Filipino. And if we are to look at the social structure before, Chinese mestizo belongs to a middle class family. So that's the reason why Rizal was able to study abroad, such as in Europe. And then Jose Rizal also excels as a propagandist, a scholar, physician, and a writer. And he is well known for his two novels, which is No Limitangere and El Filibusterismo, in which it exposes the injustices and corruptions of the Spanish government. And Rizal, together with Del Pilar and Graciano Lopez Haina, founded the propaganda movement in Spain, in which it aims for reforms and equality between the Spaniards and the Filipinos. Kay 'di ba before it kabutangan talaga't mga Filipinos is diri maupay kay they experience lot of injustices from the Spanish officials, and of course the friars. Asyan usa nga mga injustices that they experience is ang diri pagtratuhin equal and discrimination, and friars an era pagkolekhan buwis or tax for their own personal gain. And next, uh, Marcelo H. del Pilar. He was known for as the great propagandist during the Spanish colonial period. So just like Rizal, he also used his writings to expose the oppressive rules or policies of the Spanish government and advocate for reforms. So here Rizal and Del Pilar were both ardent nationalists, in which I think is the reason why they start the fight for the independence of their motherland and of course its people from the Spanish government. And then they both envision the liberation of the Philippines when the flag of Spain is no longer fluttered among the hallowed soil of the Philippines. And then, and they are both prolific and fervent journalists who made use of their pens to disarm their enemies. And then, Marcelo H. del Pilar was also the one who founded the Diaryong Tagalog in 1882, in which siya inian pinakasya na newspaper na na-publish, in which ang contents is all about han government reforms ngan an mga abuses han mga friars towards ha mga Filipinos. Kay 'di ba it mga friars before kay they are very powerful both in economically and politically. And in 1888, Del Pilar fled to Spain to escape the persecution from the Spanish authorities under the sponsorship of Comité de Propaganda, leaving his family in the Philippines. It was because his anti-friar activities were discovered by the Spanish officials. Pero, embis na asya it natabo, it doesn't stop or imbis naman lang mag-listen an iya determination or an iya dedication to weaken the uh, friars' hold on Philippine politics. Therefore, to continue with his campaign, he used newspapers and pamphlets as his primary vehicle and distribute it to both in Peninsula and the Philippines. And next is La Solidaridad. So, La Solidaridad was the primary organ of the propaganda movement. It was established to express its goals towards achieving its assimilation in Spain. It is true that this newspaper was created due to the reality that mass media is crucial in reaching its audiences to disseminate the propaganda objectives. Parang it's much easier and less hassle. Then La Solidaridad was founded by Graciano Lopez Haina in Barcelona on February 15, 1889. Then this newspaper came out once every 2 weeks. Then on December 15, 1889, Marcelo H. del Pilar succeeded Graciano Lopez Haina as the editor of La Solidaridad. Then he promoted the objectives of this newspaper by contacting liberal Spaniards who would side with Filipino cause. Then under Del Pilar, the aims of the newspaper were expanded to include first, the removal of the friars and the secularization of the parishes. This is to reduce the power of Catholic Church with their hold and local politics and society. The next is free of assembly and speech. Asya na ni an right han mga Filipinos to gather and to freely express their opinions or thoughts without fearing the government. Then, an equality before the law, meaning every individual, regardless of its background or social structure, should be treated equally by the legal system. Dapat waray favoritism na matatabo. And lastly is the Philippine representation and the Spanish Cortes. Asya ini ang pinaka-demand han mga Filipinos before to have a one representative in the Spanish Cortes. This is to advocate for the interests and rights within the broader Spanish colonial framework. Kay di ba ang before an government structure is very centered la to the Spanish people. Kay bagat it mga Filipinos kay bagan na itchapwera or yes na itchapwera la kay waray manhera bagat waray nira voice in the Spanish Cortes. That's the reason why bagat they want one representative in the Spanish Cortes to wear their voice to express their suggestions and opinions and engage in decision making. Then next is the conflict between Del Pilar and Rizal. So, when the year 1890 was about to end, an unwanted rivalry between Rizal and Del Pilar arose. This was mainly because of the management and editorial policy of Del Pilar were different to Rizal's political beliefs or views. And to be able to fix their differences and solidify the unity among them, about 90 Filipinos in Madrid met on the New Year's Day of 1891. Then it was agreed upon that a leader called the Responsable to be elected to administer the campaigns for reforms of the Filipinos. Then, ang community Madrid na full of Filipinos were half into two, which is the Pilaristas and the Rizalistas. Ang Rizalistas asya ni ang mga supporters ni Rizal, and Pilaristas was ang Can del Pilar. And the first voting for the Responsable started on the first week of February in 1891. Then Rizal won the first two elections, but the votes counted for him did not reach the needed two-third vote fraction. Then after that, Mariano Ponce hit instructed by Del Pilar, bagat he pleaded to the Piralistas to just give up their votes. That's why Rizal ang na-elect as the legal responsable. Then, pero Rizal, knowing that the Piralistas did not like either his personality or political beliefs, respectfully declined the position and transferred it to Del Pilar. He then packed up his bags and boarded a train leaving for Biarritz, France. And inactive in the reform movement, Rizal ceased his contribution of articles on La Solidaridad. Tas after hini nga incident, Del Pilar wrote a letter to Rizal seeking for an apology for any mistakes that he had done. Then Rizal just responded that he stopped writing for La Solidaridad because of many reasons. And first, he needed time to work on his two novels. His second novel, which is El Filibusterismo. Then, he wanted other Filipinos in Spain to work also. And then he could not lead an organization without solidarity. Tapos, ang La Solidaridad lasted for about 7 years under Del Pilar management, and during those times, he published La Solidaridad on his own because funding was scarce in Philippines. And I think also that usa gihap nga factor nga naka-affect why an funding nag-stop is because an issue regarding han natabo kan Rizal during han election for the responsable. I'm not really sure. And on November 15, 1895, the publication of La Solidaridad ended due to the lack of money, and the following year, the propaganda movement also ended. Kay waray manhira nag-succeed in pursuit of political reforms. Kay bis usa nga demand han propaganda movement were not granted by the Spanish government. Kay di kay namiling lahin mga excuses ang mga Spanish officials para la diri mag-grant an mga demands han propaganda movement. So last is Ferdinand Blumentritt. So Ferdinand Blumentritt was an Austrian scholar and a professor of geography and Imperial Athenaeum of Blumentritt, in which it studies about the Philippines, the culture and the language. Thus, Blumentritt was a close friend of Rizal, even though that they only meet once. So, for Rizal, bagat Blumentritt is all in one. In Blumentritt, Rizal found his most loyal friend and supporter, his teacher, his advisor, a brother, and a father. Okay, he received comfort from him in times of difficulties and despair, especially when his family in Calamba were cruelly mistreated both by the Spanish colonial authorities and the Dominican friars over the case that involved the Rizal hacienda. So, aside from that, Blumentritt and Rizal exchanged numerous letters discussing various topics, including the history of the Philippines, the culture, and the country's struggle for independence from Spanish colonial rule. And through this, bagat it wakes Blumentritt to be aware of the truth status of the Philippines during under the under the hands of the Spanish government. So through this bagat nag kuan na hiya bagat he helped Rizal to fight for the independence of the country or the Philippines. Then he through his network ni Blumentritt and influence, it helped Rizal connect with other prominent scholars and intellectuals who supported the Philippine independence movement. Then, furthermore, Blumentritt actively campaigned to expose the inhuman and barbaric rule under the banner of religion. Asya nini ang mga abusive na mga friars towards sa Filipinos. Sugadhan na tabo didahan second book ni Rizal na which is El Filibusterismo, where he Padre Damaso bagan gin sexually harassed niya hi Maria Clara. Sugad hito. And then, alongside Rizal, Blumentritt was a significant contributor to the publication of La Solidaridad, where he wrote articles and the defense of the Filipinos inspirited the Filipino movement and delight and encouragement of Rizal. So he Blumentritt also wrote introductions to Rizal's books like second book, which is an El Filibusterismo, then translated them into German asya na No Limitang Here, then facilitated their publication in Europe. Kaya based on my research, Blumentritt asya it nag-help kan Rizal to find a bagat less expensive na publishing store in Berlin. Kaya di ba No Limitang Here was published in Berlin. And then tungod hinihan friendship ni Blumentritt kan Rizal, bagan Blumentritt bagat he is popular in Philippines, mas popular Philippines rather than his own country, or yes, own country. And then asya na tungaan kan Blumentritt scholarly works help to counter the prevailing notion that the Philippines was a backward and uncivilized colony, contributing to the development of national consciousness among Filipinos. And to add something, beforehand execution ni Rizal, he wrote his last letter to his close friend, which is Blumentritt. And when Blumentritt received the news about the death of his close friend, which is Rizal, bagan he broke down, and when he got up, he said that so strong is the execution of our friend Rizal that we may say Without hesitation, from this day onwards, a new era of Philippine history has begun. And this prophetic utterance of Professor Blumentritt was fulfilled when exactly 18 months and 13 days after the death of Rizal, the Spanish flag was hauled down in Fort Santiago as a symbol of surrender, thus ending the 333 years of Spanish colonial rule in the Philippines. So, that's it for my part. I hope that you learned something from it. Thank you.